Right, Mark O'Sullivan is my name, Dairy Advisor in the Clonakilty office. What I'm just going to look at is a couple of things in the cluster, around the cluster unit and in the milk and parlour itself, and the thermodurics and I suppose sources for they can be dirty. So the first thing is, you can see in the jetters, just looking around, are they actually clean? You can see in this parlour that they're very, very clean. Sometimes in the tray, you can just see the outside ring where the cluster would sit into it. See, is there any dirt within that tray itself? And particularly with the caps or the hoods over them, that you can have a build up of dirt. You will see that sometimes in the cup. At the bottom of them cups you'll see the dirt. You can see these are relatively clean, but that's an area to go after because that is getting directly into the milk line. I suppose the next thing from the milk liner itself you can see is that the arrows are lining up, and you can see that they are in this cluster. So is that area clean, and are the arrows lining up? I suppose the next thing, the obvious thing, when you see cracks, you can see in the cracks in one of this fella here on the pulsator line, really they need to be changed. So we shouldn't be seeing cracks that dirt can get in. It's a source of dirt. I suppose the next thing is to look at the claw piece itself. I suppose first of all to look at see is there any filament around there. You can see when I rub my hand it's very, very smooth, so you can see that that is clean. You can see dirt around the outside. It's just nearly me to open them and wipe them down, that there is small bits of dirt, but maybe not getting in direct contact with the milk. On the glass piece itself, the first thing I go after is the rubber. So rub your hand along the outside and see is that rubber seal still in place and is it fully functional. That's the first thing. You can see dirt around it. The next thing you go after is the open and close valve. Is there dirt along the inside there? Which on these again it's fairly clean on the inside. When you rub your hand there's very little of that filament coming. I suppose the last thing on that is the air bleed. You can see in the air bleed here that it's clear. How to unblock them, get a pin and just pop it out. That there should be an opening for that air pin. So we've gone through the claw piece. The next thing I suppose is looking for obvious cracks in the rubberware. You can see that these rubberware are old. You can see that this is loose. It has been taken off probably from the dump bucket, so it's loose. You put your finger in there, and just how you know if rubber is wear, you can see that my finger is coming out black, so that's a sure sign that the rubber is wearing. It's obvious from the cracks here alone that it's wearing. The pipe here doesn't look too bad, but from the inside it is starting to wear. Going on to a couple of farms, the silicone will last anywhere 3 to 5 times longer, and it's much more durable that it doesn't wear, so it's very worth considering silicone. The guys that have it in are very, very happy, well worth considering. There's 2 reasons not to hook the dump bucket line onto here. The first reason is, well, one, it's more likely to crack here, and you don't want to crack in there. The second reason is, if you drop it from here and it falls onto the ground, you still have vacuum on that end of the line. If you take it from the actual here and that falls, so this falls from here, the vacuum is stopped here, so you won't take up dirt. I suppose with the silicone piping, the other big thing on the silicone piping is the silicone doesn't contract and expand like rubber, so it's easy to put on a clip on the silicone piping here. You can't really put on them Jubilee clips here, you'll rip your hand. If you're changing your plant wear, change the plant wear on this as well.
Because the wave purge system is a very important part of the wash cycle of lines that are 3 inches or more to clean the top of the milk lines. The 2 things to watch for this type of system is, number 1, is it working, and number 2, is there enough pulses during the wash cycle. Your target is 12 to 15 pulses per wash cycle. And what it does is it releases that bat of water down the milk line, down along here, and then hits the receiving jar, washing that jar. We're aiming to have 12 to 15 of those pulses during a wash cycle in a 10-minute wash. There should be one of those approximately every 40 seconds. So something to keep an ear out during the wash cycle. So to wash this pipe, lads, what's a handy idea is turn off the milk pump to stop it pumping the wash solution out of here until this jar will flood. And when this jar will flood, it'll send solution up through this pipe, down around and into the sanitary trap, and then you can flick on the pump again to clear it. But in doing that, you've cleaned this pipe. So it's just removing any risk of contamination from dirty milk inside here. When you're washing, it's very important, lads, that the receiving jar is no more than 1/3 full. Because if the pump isn't able to clear this properly, and this is 3/4 full, you have approximately 40% or 50% of your total wash solution inside here in the jar, which is doing nothing to wash the plant itself. So it's very important that the electric pump or the diaphragm pump is able to keep this jar so that it's never no more than a third full. The sanitary trap, lads, is a very common area for failing at thermodurics. It should be washed with every wash cycle. As you can see, there's a clip up here. It should be opened, and then there's a drain valve out of it to take the wash cycle out of it. What a sanitary trap does is when the receiving jar fills up, the excess milk comes up here to shut off the ball to stop the milk going into the milk pump. Problem is, if this is not cleaned properly, as you can see inside here, there's a build up of milk deposits on the base of that, and it's a very, very common source for thermoduric spikes. Occasionally you may have to take this off and wash it manually. But it's something that needs to be washed every morning and every evening on a wash cycle. Washing the vacuum line, lads, is very important. It should be done at every service and ensure that your technicians do it. But in certain parlours like this one, the adequate plumbing isn't in place that the farmer is able to wash the vacuum line itself. There needs to be a tap inserted here that I can suck up my solution to send down the vacuum line, to wash the vacuum line, and end up in my trap before the pumps. It's very important to clean the vacuum line, as thermodurics are spore formers, and when they form spores they'll travel in the air and they're all in the system together and they'll contaminate the milk. There are a number of valves that you need to shut to ensure that you do it properly, and you need to know the proper volume to put through the plant so you don't damage any of the pumps inside. It's a very simple technique to do once shown, and it's a very important technique to be done.